So, who here is tired of having their civil rights trampled? Now, let's hear you. They need to hear you in there. You know, if you're tired, let them hear you. And it never ends. You know, they had a great court case in New York, and they struck down all their bad laws. And what did they do? They doubled back and came up with worse laws. That's not the way government's supposed to work. We're seeing the laws getting struck down in New Jersey and California. And if the General Assembly doesn't cooperate, we'll be striking them down in the courts here like we've already started. These things are going to go away, guys. So we've got a busy agenda. I appreciate you guys being here. We have a host of speakers. I'm going to let the legislators go first because they have to get back over to the General Assembly for caucus and then get ready for the floor session.
Now listen, I'm much better with a rifle than giving a speech, but I gave a speech on the floor one day when we had Democrat rule, and I said, Madam Speaker, at the time, if a bad guy broke into your home tonight with a gun to kill you and your children, you'd be glad you had a gun. And if a bad guy broke into your home tonight to kill you and your children and you didn't have a gun, you'd wish you had a gun. So it's our God-given right. And I got to tell you, I keep hearing people say we need gun control, gun control. Well, criminals don't care about the law. And you look at Chicago, where they have the strictest gun laws in the nation, and they have the most gun violence. And it's an evil heart situation. We have mental health for sure, but it's an evil heart. Evil does exist.
It's an honor to be here. And if you remember, just 2 years ago, we stood in this very place, only about 50 to 80,000 people, depending on whether you're watching the legacy media or reporting the truth. How many people were actually here? And it was such an honor to be here and to speak at that event. So many of you are here. Raise your hand if you were actually here 2 years ago. Absolutely. And you know, that's thanks to the good leadership of President Philip Van Cleve and Pat Webb and the entire VCDL volunteer community. We are so forever ever grateful. Yes, I do have 100% VCDL score lifetime, and I can't believe it, but I've actually been in the state Senate for 8 years. I've voted against every single measure that would take away a law-abiding citizen's ability to protect themselves. I've voted against it every single time. And even, you know, it's so important that you have legislators that are not just Republicans, but who truly live by and support the Second Amendment. Many of you all know I carry. I carry if I'm going to the gym. I carry wherever I'm going. And, you know, I'm really want to dispel this fallacy, this lie that suburban women want gun control, because that is a lie. I am a suburban woman from Chesterfield County, and I do support my ability as a mother to protect my family from criminals that don't care what happens on July 1 and what gun control goes into place, because they're not going to follow it.
Hey, I wanted to help bring some perspective of what's going to happen in this General Assembly. You know, we've heard from the Virginia Senate that they're the brick wall, right? We've heard that. We saw them kill a lot of legislative priorities last year from Republicans. But what you're going to see this year, the Democrats have dropped a lot of anti-Second Amendment bills. And what you're going to see is this Republican majority in the House stand up to that and kill that in our public safety committees. And so that's a big thing. You're not going to see repeals of all of the laws that have offended us that the Democrats passed in 2020 and 2021, because while we can get them out of our House, they will die in the Senate. But you will see us standing up and stopping more progressive gun control. And at the end of this session, what the session is going to be judged on is not necessarily what we passed, but what we stopped. And it shows you where they want to go, what they want to do. In UVA, where the guy shot his classmates with a handgun in a gun-free zone, the president calls for a semi-automatic rifle ban, right? And so it's this political agenda that we're going to stand up to and stop, and that's when I'm glad to be here and be a part of this team. Thank you all for being here.
Like my colleagues have said, we have to get back the Senate because, like she said, we're in neutral. We're not moving forward. We're stopping from going back, but we're not moving forward. And if we take this Senate, we can move forward and we can get Virginia back to the Virginia that we all know and love, where we can carry everywhere without worrying about, am I going to be a felon because I went from Hampton to Newport News or from Richmond to Northern Virginia. And that is ridiculous that we have to worry about that. So guys, I love you guys, and I want to thank you guys because I wouldn't be here without you. I was a VCDL member, I am still, but I was a VCDL member. I went to a gun show, I signed up, I got a ticket to go in faster, and then I got an email that said, hey, you need to come out to your local city council and speak on this issue. And I spoke, and they ignored me, and I got mad, so I ran, and now I'm killing their bills on Capitol, on the Hill.
Thank you, Phil. It's wonderful to be here. It's always wonderful to be here on Lobby Day. And I've got to tell you, as I'm listening to AC and I'm listening to some of the other folks I know inside the legislature, the reality is exactly what they said. It's about our majority in the House of Delegates stopping some absolutely insane new ideas to disarm the populace. That's what is going to happen in the House of Delegates right now. It's also one of the reasons it's so vital as we head into an election year for both the Senate and the House of Delegates that we elect people who understand what's going on, who have actually read the Constitution, who actually understand that the Second Amendment is not negotiable. This is not something that's given to you one day and taken back another. Those of us who understand true constitutional rights understand these are rights bestowed upon us by God, not the government. It is not the government who gives them, and certainly not the government that takes them away at that point. And so those of us who care about constitutional rights have to remember something. We can't just care about one of those pesky rights. We've got to be concerned with all of them. And we need to reach out to people, quite frankly, who don't own guns, who don't know anything about guns, and frankly have made a decision they don't want a gun in their house.
Our right to bear arms is a God-given right. We are here in the land, the homeland of George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, George Mason, and they would be so proud of us for taking the steps needed to fight back against all these anti-gun laws. Once again, my name is John Crump. Stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, always keep in the fight, and most of all, remember, Sic Semper Tyrannis. Thank you.
But programs like ROTC are getting phased out. That's not at my high school anymore. So if we have a group of people who have never held a gun, have never experienced shooting, have never gone hunting, never even shot like a BB gun, and on top of that, you've got the entire culture telling you, oh, this is bad. You know, the Second Amendment. I remember in 2020 when I was here, back then when we had the huge rally, people were telling me I'm a white supremacist because I want to go to a gun rally. And this is what is going on out in the culture. They're segmenting us into these different groups, and we'll say, hey, if you're over here, if you're black, you cannot support guns. If you're white, then you're a terrorist. We need to get away from all of this. And the way that we do that is first getting towards the students. I believe that children are the future. Treat them well, let them lead the way. But what are we doing right now? We're not. And so we cannot expect different results if we continue to do the same thing.
But that's a big thing about here is we need to make sure, because a lot of people look to Virginia to make sure that we maintain hold of our rights here. Because if Virginia falls, then a lot of people are just trying to do that, it's all, we're up a river, there's no point in fighting, we'll shoot it out. It's like, no, you can still get to the courts. We have means to do so. We have ability to actually get good gun laws passed. We just heard from some good people that want to get some stuff through. I'm all about it. Let's get it done.
But pray for us, because this is the chance to make this district transcend party lines and bring all people together, unite us as one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not some people, not the elite, not a few, but for all people. This is our opportunity. Let's send a message right now to Virginia and say not just a red wave for the Republican Party or a blue wave, but red with the blood of Jesus. It's time to bring our values back home again, and this is our opportunity. Are you with me? I said, are you with me, Virginia? VCDL.
We have a government that doesn't respect the Second Amendment. We have people who are advocating for gun control. What is the strongest deterrent against a socialist, Marxist, tyrannical government? The Second Amendment. Look at what's happening in China. Look at what's happening in other countries that don't have a Second Amendment. Look at the COVID restrictions that they're having. There were riots in China because they had people in an apartment complex and they had a fire and several of them died. I think it was 50 plus people who died. But it's because they didn't have guns to stand up to the communist regime of China. We would never allow what happened in China to happen here in America. And that's why this fight is so essential.
The Democrats are the excuse that we use time after time for the things that we cannot get done. Republicans, rhinos, hide behind that time after time. Oh, we can't submit that bill because the Democrats will kill it. Oh, we can't do this because the Democrats will kill it. Phil is absolutely right. We took back 3 statewide offices and we took back the House of Delegates. And then what happened? Every Republican that was worth a damn hid behind the fact that the Democrats control the Senate. And I don't care, because if you want to do the right thing, you do it over and over and over and over, no matter what. And you show up time after time after time. Is it cold? Yeah. Did they shut the square down? Yeah. Does it matter? No. Our rights are our rights, and they were God-given, and they are important. So here's what I'm going to tell you. You've got a very important election coming up. You've got the House of Delegates, and you got the state Senate. Don't give them any more excuses to hide behind the Democrats. Start voting Republican. Get out and help them now.
What you'll see is that they're going to start shifting tactics. No longer do they want to argue about the true meaning of the Second Amendment, because we've got them on their heels when we talk about the meaning of the Second Amendment. Now, they're going to try to find other ways to avoid these courts. They're going to try to find other ways to keep these matters from being litigated. We're going to be fighting about standing. We're going to be fighting about mootness. We're going to be fighting about a variety of things. And you need to pay attention to the courts, and you need to support the organizations that are supporting these litigation efforts. Thank you so much for being out here today.